This video was produced by the Top Cut. Be sure to check out thetopcut.net, your home for Pokemon TCG tournament coverage, professional game analysis, and interviews with the best players in the world. Thanks for watching. Hey everybody, this is Puka bringing you the finals of the Ohio State Championship between Joey Gannon on the left and Dustin Zimmerman on the right. We have a good old Celebi Mewtwo Tornadus mirror match. I don't think we've actually done one of these videos on our channel before, so this would be a good chance for everybody to explore this mirror match between the second most popular deck in the format, which is CMT. So right off the bat, Joey will go first, which is the important part, and he'll play a dual ball and get one heads. So I'm not too sure how this matchup will go. I don't have a ton of experience in this mirror match, but I would assume the person who gets off to a faster start would have an advantage. You know, you want to start picking off Celebis to get some cheap prizes, and the first person who plays Mewtwo down might be at a disadvantage, just because both of these players obviously are going to have 2, maybe 3 copies of Mewtwo in their deck, and you know, when you put it down first, you're going to give up the 2 prizes first. So unless you can guarantee that your opponent can't knock out your first Mewtwo right away, which you can't really do, then Mewtwo putting it down is always going to be a risk. And right off the bat here, we do see Joey probably not going to get that turn 1 Hurricane. That would be pretty big if he could pull a Sky Arrow Bridge and a double colorless energy off of this N. He'd be able to retreat, and he's already attached using Celebi's Forest Breath, which allows you to attach an extra grass energy. So if he can get this Hurricane off on the first turn and knock out Celebi, that would be monumental in terms of getting an advantage in this matchup. That would really set Dustin on the back foot, but it doesn't look like he pulled that off. He also could have gotten another switch, but the double colorless energy seems to have eluded him, and all he can do is attach again and pass, I think, which is what it looks like he's going to do. And now it's on Dustin. So this matchup looks like it can be a little fragile. You know, Joey, he went for the turn 1 Hurricane for 80 damage. He missed it, and now Dustin has the advantage, or has the opportunity to take the advantage. If he can manage to pull off a Hurricane on the first turn, then he will end up at the major advantage here. So right here he plays a switch, and we're gonna see, can he draw the double colorless energy? And if he does, he'll be able to get that first prize, and he'll take Joey's Celebi out of play, taking away that energy acceleration a little bit. And you know, I don't know, he'll just have the early lead. But it doesn't always come down to taking the first prize. There's a lot of stuff that can happen here. There's always N that comes into play, and just general stuff like what do you end up drawing. And looks like we have a dual ball from Dustin. He's going to get 1 heads out of 2, and he does have that double colorless in his hand, so this is a pretty big deal. Dustin will grab the first prize. Joey will be on the back foot starting off, and we're going to take it from there. Now, I think what will happen eventually in this matchup is a Mewtwo will be forced to be played down. There's really no way around it when you think about just the way these decks are built. For the most part, you have maybe 3, excuse me, 3 or 4 Tornadus, and then you really don't have many alternate attackers. You have, for Dustin, you have the Regigigas, and then maybe you might see a Shaman EX somewhere. I don't think either of these players use Terrakion, so we won't be seeing that at all. But beyond Tornadus, really the only attacker you see, besides maybe one other, is Mewtwo. And so eventually you're just going to have to see Mewtwo come down because, well, neither player has any other option, and that might be the case here. I don't really know. I certainly don't know what's in either of these players' decks. I got a good look at Dustin's deck in a previous round, but Joey, I'm not too sure what he's running. He doesn't look like he's running any Terrakion or anything crazy like that. He could run Shaman EX, but we'll find out as the game goes on, I suppose. But my point is, really, Mewtwo will make a showing at some point in these games, and I don't think there's a way around it. Now, this turn, Joey really wanted to get a Pokemon catcher, I'm sure, so he could get a prize and even up the score here, but it looks like he did not manage to do so. It's going to be a pretty big deal if he just does 80 to this Tornadus, and then Dustin has another catcher, and ooh, he actually puts down the first Mewtwo. A little bit of a dangerous move, especially if he moves energy to it with Hurricane, which he does. So this is going to be an opening for somebody to start a Mewtwo war here. Now, if Dustin pulls off some crazy move like puts down a Mewtwo and then uses Shaman Celebration Wind to move the energy in play onto his Mewtwo and then catches out Joey's Mewtwo, then he could just take 2 prizes and he'll take a 3 prize lead. That'll be huge. It's just kind of, when you put down Mewtwo, you open up Pandora's box, basically, and you don't know what's going to happen next. Stuff breaks down, stuff gets crazy, and pretty much anything can happen at this point. Mewtwo makes games go by very quickly. It makes people do crazy stuff, and we'll see if that's the case here. But it's just something to look out for. Now, Dustin, I don't know if he has a Junk Arm or a catcher in his hand. If he does, I'm sure he will go ahead and catcher out either Celebi or Mewtwo. Might just take Celebi because that's going to be an easy prize. It'll put him at a 2 prize lead, which is a pretty big deal. So I guess we'll find out what he decides to go for here. A Hurricane on the active probably wouldn't be the best thing here. But it looks like he's going to go for it anyway. And alright, I guess we're going to take it from here. Now, Hurricane for 80 does put Joey's Tornadus in danger of being knocked out next turn. That's for sure. But, I mean, for Dustin, his Tornadus is going to get knocked out. Maybe he just didn't have the resources to pull off anything else. So, it's a tough call. Of course, I'm just talking, excuse me, I'm still recovering from a bit of a cold. But I'm just talking as if these players had everything, which I don't know if they do or not. So, I'll say, oh, he should have played a catcher here. If he doesn't have one, then, well, that doesn't really matter, does it? So, there's a lot of hypotheticals here, a lot of what if he has this card, what if he doesn't. But for here, we have a catcher on Dustin's Regigigas, and Joey's just going to go ahead and bring that out and put a hit on it. Now, this is going to put it in range for other Pokemon to do some big damage to Regigigas, and maybe he'll get 2 prizes off of it and kind of turn the game around. He might decide to do 80 with Hurricane and then follow up with X-Ball on Mewtwo. Or he might decide to just go ahead with Mewtwo. I don't really know what he's going to decide to do. Looks like he's going to Hurricane. Yep, alright, so he puts energy on Tornadus and then moves it to another Mewtwo. And he's threatening to knock out that Regigigas EX. Now the problem for Joey is going to be, yes, this Regigigas is in range to be knocked out now, but the only Pokemon that's really going to knock it out is Mewtwo. And when you set a Mewtwo to knock out anything, of course the natural response for the other player is to put out Mewtwo. And we get into Mewtwo War. So it looks like Dustin pretty much just played his hand down, and then played a Juniper Drew 7 cards. So he is pretty much just going to knock out this Tornadus here. And he'll be satisfied having a 2-prize lead, especially considering that we're going to get into a Mewtwo war pretty soon. He just puts down his own Mewtwo, acknowledging the fact that, okay, I need my own Mewtwo EX to knock out your Mewtwo EX that is bound to be coming out next. So I'm sure Dustin will just take a prize here. I don't think he needs to use a catcher on a Mewtwo or anything like that. I don't know if that would be a wise use of his resources. I'd probably just be content to take the 2 prizes here, and then Joey can tie the game up. Looks like he's going to catcher, and he's actually going to bring out Celebi, which I don't mind. Tornadus does have 30 hit points left. You might want to knock it out just to get the energy out of play so that a Shaman can't use Celebration Wind and move the energy. So maybe an iffy move on Dustin's part. I don't know if he needed to do that. You might just go ahead and knock out the Tornadus. But he's going to catcher that Celebi, and he'll get a prize anyway. So the important part about that turn is that he did take a prize. Now the other problem with this is that if Joey had, let's say, 2+ powers, and he uses Hurricane for 100, that's going to set Dustin back a little bit, because he'll tie the game, but he doesn't have to attack with Mewtwo doing it. And then we could get into a weird spot where Dustin's actually at a disadvantage in terms of the prize count and Mewtwo trading. So, going to be interesting to see how exactly this all plays out from here, because once you start to factor in EXs, the numbers start to get a little funky with what you can do and what you can't do. Now it looks like Joey does have plus power in his hand and a junk arm, so he will be able to pull all this madness off if he wants to. He also has a Juniper in his hand, so he's got pretty much everything he could want here. His only problem is he has a double colorless as his only energy. Probably doesn't want to use that, but he's going to. And then he's going to play plus power, junk arm for the plus power, and then he plays the Juniper. Not sure how I feel about playing it this turn. I don't know what else you could possibly need on this turn. Maybe put down another Pokemon if you draw one, so you don't have to move the energy to a Mewtwo and turn it into a big target. But I think, for the most part, it's actually better not to use the Juniper there. Save it for next turn, just in case you get End. Then you're going to lose your whole hand, and you just wasted a supporter for no reason. And really, I don't know what you're trying to draw off of that. You've really done everything you could do for that turn. But I don't know. We'll see if that comes back to bite him or not. Usually it won't, but sometimes it will. So Dustin did play a dual ball here. We got a second Mewtwo, so I think everybody knows where this game is headed at this point. Both of these players have these giant psychic Pokemon, which are weak to each other, and give up 2 prizes when they are knocked out. And we're about to enter some silliness, and we'll see who's the bigger baller, who can use X-Ball more and win this game. So right now Dustin does play a double colorless and puts a grass on his other Mewtwo, and let's see, so he's gonna catcher for, let's see, I'm not sure what's happening here. It's tough, we can't completely see Dustin's discard pile. Looks like he played a junk arm, and he's going to grab catcher for the Mewtwo with 2 grass on it. And this is the problem with having a Mewtwo with 2 grass sitting on your bench. Now this happens, and now we have entered full-on Mewtwo war. And where do we go from here? So Joey, he does have 4 prizes left, Dustin's 2, so he's really got no choice other than to power up his Mewtwo and then X-Ball and get a knockout here. and then just kind of hope that Dustin doesn't have a final energy to win the game. And this is kind of how simple things can get when you drop Mewtwo down. This is why it's always a huge risk to play the first Mewtwo into play, especially when you're moving energy to it with Hurricane. That is a giant risk, and really one that did not pay off here for Joey. He will be able to X-Ball, and this game will pretty much come down to this next turn here. And alright, there is X-Ball. Does Dustin, and he draws the energy, so there we go, X-Ball for 200. Dustin is the bigger baller this game, and that is that. So this was game 1. This is best 2 out of 3 series. So Dustin wins the first one. He was the first one to attack, and Joey was really just behind the entire game. So thanks for watching this first game. We'll be right back with game 2 to see who will take the title of Ohio State Champion. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned.